The stars looked different this far from Earth. Pressed her hand against the cold window of the exploration ship and watched the unknown galaxy spin slowly past. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child. First contact with alien life. A chance to study creatures from another world. She never imagined it would end like this. The attack came without warning. One moment the ship was peaceful and quiet. The next moment everything was chaos. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Red lights flashed everywhere. Ran past her toward the engine room, shouting something she could not hear over the noise. "We're being boarded," Captain's voice cracked through the speakers. "All crew, this is not a drill. We are being boarded by unknown hostiles." His heart pounded in her chest. She ran toward the lab, thinking maybe she could hide there, but she was too slow. The door at the end of the corridor exploded inward. Smoke filled the air. Through the gray clouds, she saw them. The aliens were tall, much taller than any human. Their skin looked like dark metal, smooth and cold. They had too many arms. Their eyes glowed with a yellow light that made feel sick. They moved fast, faster than anything that size should move. Tried to run. A metal hand grabbed her arm and lifted her off the ground like she weighed nothing. She screamed and kicked, but it was useless. The alien carried her through the broken door without any effort. They took her to their ship. It was massive, bigger than 3 Earth cities put together. The walls were black and smooth. Strange symbols glowed on every surface. The air smelled wrong, like chemicals in something rotten. Was thrown into a white room. The floor was hard and cold. She looked around and saw Minu and the others pushed into cells nearby. They were separated by walls of energy that buzzed and crackled. Pressed his hands against the energy wall. His face was bleeding from a cut above his eye. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," she lied. Her arm hurt where the alien had grabbed her. "What do they want?" Nobody had an answer. Hours passed, maybe days. Time felt strange in the white room. Then they came for her. 2 aliens entered. One wore something that looked like a uniform. The other had strange tools floating around its body. The one with tools made a sound like grinding metal. Realized it was trying to speak. "Human female, you will come." They took her to another room. This one had a table in the center. Metal arms hung from the ceiling. Screens covered the walls, showing images and symbols she did not understand. The alien with the tools pointed at the table. "Lie down." "No," back toward the door. "Please, I haven't done anything wrong. We're explorers. We mean no harm." The alien made a sound like laughter, but, "We know. That is why you are perfect. Fresh specimens, unknown biology. The hierarchy thanks you for your contribution to science." "Specimen," horror filled his chest. "You mean you're going to experiment on me?" "Your species is new. We must understand your structure, your weaknesses, your limits." The alien tilted its head. "Do not fear. We will learn much from you." They grabbed her again, fought with everything she had, but they were too strong. They strapped her to the table. The metal was ice cold against her back. The restraints cut into her wrists and ankles. Through a window in the wall, she could see the others watching. His face was white with fear. Minu was pounding on the energy wall, shouting something she could not hear. Had his arms around who was crying. The alien moved closer. The tools began to glow, tried to be brave. She tried to think of Earth, of her family, of anything but what was about to happen. Then the pain started. It was worse than anything she could have imagined. The alien was not trying to be gentle. It was not trying to help her. It only wanted information. It cut and probed and tested. It pushed her body past every limit, screamed until her throat was raw. She begged them to stop. She promised them anything. They did not care. Hours became an eternity of agony. Felt her body breaking. Her heart was beating too fast. Her lungs could not get enough air. Blood ran down the side of the table and pooled on the floor. Through the window she could see he was still watching. Tears ran down his face. His lips moved, saying her name over and over. Wanted to tell him it was okay. She wanted to tell him to be strong, but she could not speak anymore. Everything was going dark. The last thing she heard was the alien's voice, cold and curious. Interesting. The specimen is entering cardiac arrest. Time of termination, 14 hours 37 minutes station time. Then there was nothing. Died on a metal table far from home, alone except for monsters who saw her only as a puzzle to solve. The alien made notes on its screen, already thinking about which human to study next. It did not bother to remove her body from the table. There would be time for dissection later. In the cells sank to his knees. The others were silent, too shocked to speak. They had watched their friend die and they could do nothing to save her. None of them knew what was about to happen. None of them knew that 37 minutes later, everything would change. The alien scientist, who the others called, stood over his body. It was making notes on a floating screen. Her body was still on the table, covered in blood and chemicals. The monitors around the room showed flat lines. No heartbeat, no brain activity, nothing. Reached for a cutting tool. It wanted to open the body and see what was inside. Maybe these humans had something interesting in their organs. 37 minutes had passed since heart stopped beating. Then the monitors began to beep. Looked up confused. The screens were showing activity, a heartbeat, slow at first then faster. Brain waves started to appear, weak but growing stronger. Impossible, said. It checked the equipment. Everything was working correctly, but the readings made no sense. On the table's chest moved. She took a breath, then another. Her eyes snapped open. Gasped and sat up so fast that she fell off the table. She hit the floor hard, her body shaking. She looked around the room with wild eyes, not understanding where she was or what had happened. Jumped back, its tools clattering to the floor. In all its years of study across dozens of species, it had never seen anything like this. The dead did not return. Death was final. That was the law of nature. But here was a human, dead for 37 minutes, now breathing and moving and alive. His hands went to her chest, feeling for wounds that were no longer there. Her skin was smooth. The cuts had closed. The broken bones had mended. She looked down at herself, at the blood that was not hers anymore, and started to scream. I died, she whispered. I remember dying. The pain stopped and everything went dark and I died. She looked up and saw staring at her. Terror filled her eyes. No, no, please don't do it again. Please, I'll do anything. But was not listening. Its mind was racing with possibilities. A species that could return from death. A species that could heal from anything. This was worth more than all the metal in the galaxy. This was the key to immortality itself. Fascinating, said, moving closer. You must go back on the table. We must understand this. We must test the limits of this ability. No, scrambled backward. You killed me, you can't just. The guards grabbed her. She fought harder this time, knowing what was coming, but it did not matter. They strapped her down again. She could see through the window, his face a mixture of shock and hope. He was shouting something, his hands pressed against the barrier. Began the tests again. This time it was worse. Now it was trying to kill her on purpose. It wanted to see if she would come back again. It wanted to know if this was a trick or if humans truly could defeat death. Begged, she pleaded. She promised them anything if they would just stop, but saw her only as a mystery to solve, not a person in pain. The second death took longer. His body tried to fight, tried to survive, but in the end it was not enough. Her heart stopped. Her eyes closed. The monitors went flat. Waited, counting the minutes. The other scientists gathered around, watching through the windows. They had heard what happened. None of them believed it until they saw it themselves. 41 minutes passed. Then's eyes opened again. This time she did not fall. She did not panic. She lay on the table, staring at the ceiling, and began to laugh. It was a broken sound, more like crying than joy. It's real, she said quietly. I came back again, it's real. His hands shook as it made notes. How many times can you do this? Is there a limit? Do you remember dying? Yes, turned her head to look at the alien. I remember everything, every second of pain, every moment of dying. I remember the darkness and the cold and the feeling of my body giving up. She closed her eyes, and I remember coming back, feeling my heart start again, feeling the wounds close. It hurts almost as much as dying. Remarkable, was already preparing for another test. We will discover the source of this ability. We will learn how to replicate it. You're going to keep killing me, said. It was not a question. Yes, until we understand, however many times it takes. Through the window was pounding on the barrier. His voice carried through the walls, raw with rage and grief. Stop it. She's not a lab experiment. She's a person. She has a name. Did not even look at him. It pressed a button and the window went dark, blocking the view from the cells. Closed her eyes. She knew what was coming. She knew the pain. She knew the darkness. And now she knew she would wake up from it only to face it all again. The third death was faster. Her body seemed to understand what was happening. It gave up quicker, as if trying to get to the resurrection faster. 28 minutes later, she returned. The fourth death took only 19 minutes. With each return, felt something changing inside her. Her body was learning. It was adapting. Each time she died, each time she came back, she was a little bit different, a little bit stronger. The pain of resurrection was becoming easier to bear. But the fear never went away, and the memory of dying over and over was building up inside her like a storm. Did not see the danger. It only saw opportunity. It did not understand that it was not studying a resurrection. It was creating a weapon. And that weapon was getting angrier with every death. 7 deaths, 7 returns, had stopped counting the hours. Time meant nothing anymore. There was only the cycle, pain, darkness, awakening, and pain again. But something was different now. When she woke from the 7th death, the straps on the table snapped like paper, sat up slowly, looking at her hands. They looked the same, but they felt different, stronger. She flexed her fingers and watched the muscles move under her skin. Moved closer with its tools. His hand shot out faster than thought. She grabbed the alien's wrist and squeezed, made a sound of surprise and pain. Its metal-like skin bent under her grip. Stop, said quietly. I've had enough. The guards rushed in. They grabbed her arms and tried to force her down, but did not move. She stood her ground against 3 guards, creatures twice her size and weight. They pushed. She pushed back. They strained with all their strength. She held them off with one arm. Impossible, whispered. The human body does not have this capacity. The muscle structure, the bone density, it should not support this strength. Maybe you don't know as much about humans as you thought, said. Then the guards hit her with their weapons, and everything went dark again. 8th death, 15th minute of return. This time when woke, she moved before the guards could react. She broke one restraint, then another, but they shocked her unconscious before she could escape. In the cells, watched through the window that turned clear during resurrections. He saw her changing, saw her growing stronger. He knew the others saw it too. We have to do something, said. He was packing in his cell like a caged animal. They're torturing her. They're killing her over and over. I know, pressed his forehead against the cool energy barrier. But what can we do? These walls are impossible to break. The doors are locked. The guards are everywhere. Minyu was sitting on the floor, his medical training making him look at differently. This shouldn't be possible. Resurrection, adaptive healing. It's like her body is rewriting itself every time she dies. What do you mean? Asked. I mean humans aren't supposed to be able to do this, but maybe we always could. Minyu stood up and walked to his own window. Maybe there's something in our DNA, something old and forgotten, something that only activates under extreme conditions. Like being killed repeatedly by aliens, said bitterly. Exactly like that. Minyu watched as died for the 9th time. They think they're studying her. They don't realize they're unlocking something that should have stayed locked. Turned away from the window, he could not watch anymore. He started examining his cell instead, looking for any weakness. The energy barrier hummed with power. The walls were smooth and perfect, but there had to be something, some flaw, some way out. He found it in the corner, a small panel where the energy met the wall. The connection was not quite perfect, a gap barely large enough to see. "I have an idea," he said quietly. On the table was coming back again, 10th death, 11 minutes this time. She woke up gasping, but her eyes were clearer, more focused. She had noticed something during her last death. The cameras in the room had a blind spot. The guards always stood in the same places, and there was a vent in the ceiling that led somewhere else. She stored this information away like pieces of a puzzle. Each death taught her something new. The layout of the facility, the rotation of the guards, the schedules and patterns. They thought they were studying her. She was studying them right back. The 11th death came from poison this time. Wanted to see if she could come back from different causes. The poison burned through her veins like fire. 8 minutes later, she returned. Her body had adapted to the poison. It would never work on her again. 12th death, 13th. The numbers blurred together, but with each return became more than she was. Her senses grew sharper. She could hear conversations through walls. She could smell the different chemicals in the air. Her body moved faster, reacted quicker. And the time kept shrinking. 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 3. Finally began to understand what was happening, but it was too late to stop now. The other scientists were fascinated. They wanted to see how far this could go. They wanted to harvest this ability and use it for themselves. None of them asked if they should. They only asked if they could. During the 14th death, whilst body lay cooling on the table, something happened. Managed to short out the energy barrier on his cell. Just for a second, just long enough to reach through and press a button on the control panel outside. The communication system activated. It was local only, just between cells, but it was something. When returned 4 minutes later, she heard a voice in her ear. A small speaker in the room, usually silent, crackled to life. "Can you hear me? It's..." Her heart jumped. She kept her face blank so the aliens would not notice. "I hear you," she whispered. "We're going to get out of here, all of us, but I need you to stay strong just a little longer." "How much longer?" asked. Her voice broke. "How many more times do I have to die?" "I don't know, but every time you come back, you're stronger. Every time you come back, you learn something new. They're not studying you anymore, you're studying them." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when you're ready, when you're strong enough, you're going to break out of that room, and you're going to free the rest of us, and we're going to get home." Closed her eyes. Was right. She had been so focused on surviving, on enduring, that she had forgotten to think about fighting back. "How will I know when I'm ready?" she asked. "You'll know," said. "Trust yourself, trust what you're becoming." The communication cut off. Guards were coming, but had heard enough. She had a plan now, a purpose beyond just surviving. The 15th death came that night. This time did not fight it. She let it happen, using the time in darkness to think, to plan, to prepare. When she returned 2 minutes later, her eyes were different. They had a light in them that did not recognize. It was the light of someone who had died 15 times and learned something new from each death. It was the light of someone who was done being a victim. The 16th death was different. This time did not wait to be strapped down. When the guards came for her, she moved. She was fast, faster than any human should be. Her fist hit the first guard in the center of its chest. The metal-like skin cracked. The guard flew backward and hit the wall hard enough to dent it. The second guard reached for its weapon, was already there. She grabbed the weapon and crushed it in her hand like soft clay. The guard's eyes went wide with fear. "Till I'm done being studied," said. Then 5 more guards rushed into the room. Their weapons fired bolts of energy that should have killed her instantly. 3 hit her in the chest. She stumbled back, feeling her heart stop, feeling the familiar darkness coming. She smiled as she fell, because now she knew the truth. Death was not the end anymore. It was just a pause. 4 minutes later, she woke up in the middle of the room. The guards had left her body there, not sure what to do with something that kept coming back. Stood up slowly. The wounds from the energy weapons were gone. Her skin was perfect. But she was still covered in blood, still naked, still looked like a victim. That was about to change. She walked to the door and placed her palm against it. The metal was thick, designed to hold back any prisoner. Pushed. The door groaned. She pushed harder. The metal began to bend. The door exploded outward. Alarms screamed through the facility. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Stepped out into the hallway and saw guards running toward her from both directions. She counted 12 of them, all armed, all ready to kill her. "Last chance," she called out. "Let my friends go and we'll leave peacefully." The guards opened fire. Energy bolts filled the air, moved like water flowing between the attacks. Some hit her anyway. She felt them burn through her flesh, felt her body shutting down. But she did not stop moving. She reached the first group of guards before she died. Her hands closed around 2 weapons. She ripped them away and used them as clubs. Guard after guard fell. Some were unconscious, some were worse. Then collapsed. 3 holes burned through her torso. The guards stood over her body, breathing hard, not believing what they had just seen. "It's dead," one said, "finally dead." 90 seconds later, his eyes opened. The guard screamed and ran. Stood up, healing even as she moved. She felt different now, lighter, faster. Her body had learned from the energy weapons. It had adapted. She could feel the energy in the air around her, could almost taste it. She picked up one of the fallen weapons and started running. The facility was a maze, but remembered every turn. Each death had taught her more about the layout. She knew exactly where her friends were being held. She found the first cell and tore the energy barrier apart with her bare hands. Stumbled out, his face pale with shock. "Is that really you?" "It's me." She moved to the next cell, freeing Minyu. "We need to move, now, more guards are coming." "You're covered in blood," Minyu said, his medical training making him check her over. But there were no wounds, just blood from wounds that no longer existed. "I'm fine," freed and from their cells. "Better than fine, actually, but we can talk about that later. Right now we need to get to the docking bay." "The docking bay is 6 levels up and heavily guarded," said. He was the security officer trained to assess threats. "We don't have weapons. We don't have armor. How are we supposed to fight our way through?" Looked at him, her eyes were calm. "You're going to run, I'm going to fight." "Alone?" Grabbed her arm. "No, we do this together or not at all." "I've died 16 times today. Each time I come back stronger, faster, better. I can handle the guards. You need to get everyone to the ship." She touched his face gently. "Please trust me." Something was happening to the others too. When the guards came rushing down the corridor, moved to protect. A guard's weapon hit him in the shoulder. It should have killed him instantly. Instead, he gasped and fell, the wound smoking. Then impossibly, the wound started to close. Slowly, much slower than healing. But it was healing. "What?" Looked at his shoulder in shock. "How is this possible?" "Proximity effect," Minyu said, his eyes wide. "Being near while she resurrected so many times. It must have triggered something in our DNA too. We're all changing." "Great, we can discuss biology later," pulled to his feet. "Right now we need to run." They ran through the corridors, leading the way. When guards appeared, she did not slow down. She hit them like a storm, her fists breaking through their armor, her speed making their weapons useless. Some shots hit her. She died twice more on the way to the docking bay. Each time she was down for less than a minute. Each time she came back angry and stronger. The others were changing too, took a hit that should have killed him. He fell gasping, his heart struggling, but it did not stop. His body fought to survive. When he stood up a minute later, his eyes were brighter. His movements were quicker. "This is insane," he said. "This is completely insane." "Welcome to humanity's hidden potential," Minyu replied. "Apparently we're all a lot harder to kill than we thought." They reached the docking bay. Their ship was there, held in place by magnetic locks, but between them and the ship were 50 guards, all armed, all ready. "New plan," said. "Everyone get to the ship, I'll hold them off." "That's suicide," said. "No," smiled, and there was something fierce in it. "That's a temporary inconvenience." She charged the guards alone. Energy weapons fired from every direction. Took hits meant to kill her 3 times over. She kept moving anyway, kept fighting, kept clearing a path. She died her 20-second death, right in the center of the guards. "Run," screamed to the others. "While they're distracted, run." They ran for the ship. The guards were too focused on his body to notice. Was the last one on board? He turned back, tears streaming down his face, sure he would never see again. Then he saw her body move. 60 seconds after death, stood up in the middle of her enemies. They backed away in terror. Some dropped their weapons and ran. Others stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. Looked at across the docking bay. Their eyes met. She smiled. "Go," she mouthed. "I'll find you." Then she turned back to Face, who had just entered the bay with more guards. The alien scientist looked at her with a mixture of fear and fascination. "You have become something incredible," said. "Something impossible." "I've become something you should have left alone," replied. "You wanted to study human limits. Congratulations. You removed them all." The ship's engines roared to life. Was at the controls, overriding the locks. Ran toward the guards, drawing all their fire. She died again, buying the ship precious seconds. The ship broke free and shot out of the docking bay into space. Woke up 90 seconds later, alone in the burning bay, surrounded by scared aliens who had no idea what they had created. Stood in the burning docking bay alone. The guards kept their distance, weapons pointed at her but no one daring to fire. They had seen her die and return too many times. Fear was in their eyes now, not curiosity. Stepped forward, still holding its data pad. Even now, even after everything, it wanted to study her. "Fascinating. Your resurrection time has decreased to 90 seconds. Your cellular regeneration is operating at speeds that should be thermodynamically impossible. If we could just..." "No more tests." His voice was quiet, but it cut through the chaos like a blade. "I'm done being your specimen. You don't understand what you are, what you could mean for the galaxy. Immortality, perfect healing. You could save billions of lives." "By torturing me forever," shook her head. "You see a tool, I am a person. We're always people, even when you find us inconvenient." She walked toward the exit. Guards moved to block her path. She did not slow down. They scrambled out of the way at the last second, afraid to touch her. "You cannot escape this facility," called after her. "There are thousands of guards, hundreds of weapons. You will die dozens more times before you reach any exit." Stopped and turned back. "Dozens more times? Is that supposed to scare me? I've died 23 times today. What's a few dozen more?" She smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "The question isn't whether I can escape. The question is how much damage I do on the way out." She left the docking bay and headed deeper into the facility. Not toward an exit, toward the communications center. Guards tried to stop her. She died her 24th, 25th, 26th times. Each death took less than a minute now. Each return made her stronger. The facility was in chaos. Alarms everywhere, running in panic. They had never dealt with something that could not be killed. Reached the communications center. It was a massive room filled with screens and computers, connected to every part of the hierarchy. She could send a message from here that would reach across the galaxy. The technicians inside saw her coming and fled. Smart choice. Sat down at the main console. Her hands flew over the controls. The technology was alien, but her mind was different now. Faster, sharper. She understood it instinctively, like she had been using it her whole life. She accessed the main broadcast channel, the one used for emergency messages that reached every ship and station. Then she activated every recording device in the facility. She pulled up footage of her deaths, her resurrections, her transformations, all of it. "Attention hierarchy," she said into the camera. Her voice was calm, clear. "My name is I am human. 43 hours ago you captured my ship. You separated me from my crew. You tortured me to death because you wanted to study my species." She pulled up footage of her first death. The guards in the room gasped. "I died, you recorded it. Time of death, 14 hours, 37 minutes. You were very precise about it." She pulled up the next clip. 37 minutes later I came back. You did not understand how, so you killed me again, and again, and again." The footage showed death after death, return after return, getting stronger with each cycle. "You killed me 23 times. 23 times I returned, and each time I came back better than before, stronger, faster, harder to kill." She stood up and faced the camera directly. "You wanted to study humans. You wanted to understand our limits. Congratulations. You taught us we don't have any." She pulled up a map of human space. "There are 40 billion humans in the galaxy. You've studied one, and now you've shown us what we're capable of. Every human who learns about this will start to wonder, will start to test, will start to unlock what you unlocked in me. You thought we were weak because we die easily. You thought we were primitive because we're new to space. You were wrong about both. We're not weak. We're adaptable. We're not primitive. We're survivors." Pulled up footage of and the others starting to heal from wounds. "It's not just me. My crew is changing too. Just being near me while I died and returned over and over triggered something in them. Something old. Something written into every human's DNA, waiting for the right conditions to activate." She leaned closer to the camera. "So here's my message to the hierarchy. Stay away from human space. Stay away from Earth. Stay away from our ships. Because the next time you capture a human, the next time you try to study us, you might create something worse than me. You might create thousands of me. Millions. Humans are not specimens. We are not experiments. We are people. And people, when pushed far enough, when hurt enough, when threatened enough, become something you should be very afraid of." She ended the transmission. The message would spread across the network within hours. Every station, every ship, every commander would see it, would see what they had created, would understand the terrible mistake they had made. Stood up from the console. Guards were gathering outside, working up the courage to come in. She could hear them talking, planning. They would try to kill her again. Maybe they would succeed a few more times. But she would always come back. She found a shuttle in a nearby hangar. Small, fast, built for quick escapes. Perfect. She climbed inside and powered it up. The controls were simple enough. She was already learning how to fly it. The shuttle burst out of the facility and into space. Behind her, the station was in chaos. Ahead of her, the stars stretched out forever. Somewhere out there, her crew was waiting, had said they would rendezvous at a nearby system. She found them 3 hours later. The human ship was badly damaged but functional. Nearly crashed the ship when he saw her shuttle approaching. His voice cracked over the radio. "How did you, we thought?" "I'm hard to kill," she said simply. "Permission to come aboard." The reunion was tearful. Hugged her so hard, ribs cracked. They healed in seconds. Kept checking her over, looking for injuries that were not there. "Mean you wanted to run medical tests immediately." Just stood there, staring at her like she might disappear. "I thought I'd lost you," he said quietly. "You can't lose me," took his hand. "I always come back, that's what I learned, that's what humans do, we survive, no matter what." The journey back to Earth took weeks. During that time's broadcast spread across the galaxy. The hierarchy went silent. Then came an official message, a declaration that human space was now classified as extinction-class territory. Contact was forbidden. Study was forbidden. Any ship that entered human space would be considered lost. They had learned their lesson. Humanity was not prey, not specimens, not creatures to be studied and catalogued. Humanity was something far more dangerous. They were survivors. And survivors, when pushed to their absolute limit, become the thing nightmares are made of. When they finally reached Earth, was taken to medical facilities. Doctors studied her gently, carefully, with her full consent. They found what Minu had suspected. The resurrection ability was in every human. It was just locked away, buried deep in DNA that was billions of years old, had unlocked it through repeated trauma. Now that they knew it was there, they could learn to activate it safely. The others showed similar changes, though weaker. But it was enough. Enough to prove that humans had potential they never knew about. Potential that only emerged under the worst conditions. Struggled with nightmares. Post-traumatic stress from dying 23 times was not something therapy could easily fix. But she was alive. She was home. And slowly, day by day, she was learning to live with what she had become. One night, 6 months after returning to Earth, found her standing on a balcony, looking up at the stars. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I died 23 times," said quietly. "Each time I was sure it was the end. Each time I came back, I'm not sure I'll ever be okay again." "But you're here, you survived." "I did more than survive." She turned to look at him. "I proved something important, not just about me, about all of us. We're stronger than we knew, tougher than we believed. When the galaxy tried to break us, we adapted instead." She looked back at the stars. They made a mistake. They thought studying one human would teach them about all of us. Instead, they taught us about ourselves. They showed us that we're not just explorers. We're not just scientists and dreamers. "What are we then?" asked. Smiled. "We're survivors. And that's the most dangerous thing in the universe to be." Somewhere in the dark between stars, the hierarchy remembered the human girl who died 23 times and came back every time. They remembered her message, her warning, and they stayed far, far away from human space. Because they had learned the most important lesson about humanity. Some things, once broken, become impossible to break again.